current short rate as well as forward rate, they track the path of nominal interest rates over time, could actually be moving the way they are, either because of expectations regarding the movement of real rates or of expected inflation. That was one of the things that we established. The second thing that we talked about, which is coming through our purchasing power parity, was movements in real exchange rates. Okay. In reality, actually track movements in nominal exchange rates in the short run rather than differentials in prices. So if you look at the changes in real exchange rates, let's say over some span of time, which could be the short run, let's say 3 months, 6 months, a year, you really see that the volatility which you observe in real exchange rates would be moving alongside your nominal rate, okay, nominal exchange rate, which is actually a verdict typically on the invalidity of PPP in the short run. Okay, because essentially what PPP tells you is that the real exchange rate is actually going to be a constant in the long run with arbitrage. So portion of arbitrage, like people buying cheap and selling them dear, is what's going to ensure that exchange rates will ultimately adjust for inflation differentials across countries. So the failure to do so actually induces real exchange rates to move along with nominal exchange rates. Okay. So following nominal exchange rate changes, if you have price changes compensating in the opposite direction so that the real exchange rate stays constant or changes very little, it actually means you're observing PPP working in the short run. So that, if you like, is what we have already established. So what I wanted to talk about is related nominal interest rates and inflation, the related real exchange rate, nominal exchange rate, and inflation. We now need to build in some story about interest rates and exchange rates to actually put all of these things together and see how they're related in an open economy. So to fill in that gap, if you like, what we're going to discuss today is what is known as the interest parity condition. Now, to suggest, the interest parity condition actually refers to a relation that is actually observed in the data between exchange rates and interest rates owing to the logical, rational behavior of agents in the foreign exchange market or international or traders in international assets. Okay. They just behave logically, which is if they see arbitrage opportunities, they take it. Alright. So if the markets are such that available arbitrage opportunities get taken, then it means that in a world where capital flows are unrestricted, unrestricted capital flows actually occur, interest rates on comparable securities would actually be equalized. Or let me put it in the following way: returns. Alright? Returns on comparable securities would actually be equalized through arbitrage on the part of the international debt. Okay. This particular behavior that one observes in the market is what gives us the interest parity condition, which in turn allows us to forge a link between interest rates and exchange rates. So what we're going to do is the following. I'm first going to just state these conditions, discuss where they're coming from, what they mean, etc. And then we actually do something that's more interesting. Based on the reading that I have been telling you, that will be available with the Asha, I I'm actually going to take you through some examples which show how some of these conditions actually work and how if these conditions do not work. Here, so you have some examples which show you that how deviation would actually change introduce a set of changes or change in a way, or changes in exchange rates in a way, so that these conditions tend to get fulfilled. And remember, the driver would be acting as output. Okay. So let's look at the interest-priority condition. And the first kind of interest-priority condition that I will be talking about is known as the covered interest-priority condition. So please remember that we're talking about a world where there are unrestricted capital flows, and I'm talking about assets that are comparable. So assets of comparable maturity. Okay. So 3-month domestic bond, for instance, as I will show you an example, compared to a 3-month foreign bond. Okay. Now let's look at investors. What is it that you'll be motivated to do? Okay. When you have this choice that both are available. So there are no restrictions in capital flows. Alright. So in that case, if you have a rupee and you put it in a domestic bond, then what you stand to earn at the end of at maturity is a rate of return which I can express to, where I is my interest rate on domestic bonds. Okay, so this is denominated in rupees. Right. Now the reason I'm talking about making an international transaction, obviously, I have to account for exchange rate, because when I'm weighing the decision, do I hold the domestic bond or am I going to think of buying a foreign bond? Then I have to make the comparison by looking at the kind of exchange rates that is within. Now here, I'm going to define, as previously, S as the exchange rate of rupee to dollar, and S would simply be the forward rupee to dollar exchange rate. So, what do you understand by the forward rate? What's the forward contract or forward exchange rate?
Given the buy a certain rate at the
In the future. Okay. So when I write a contract with you, say that I'm going to you're going to transact and you're going to sell dollars and I'm going to buy them, and I'm going to sell rupees and you're going to buy them. Let's agree on a rate and let that rate be X. So S is, you can think of Ft t plus 1 as the forward rate that you agree on today for a transaction that's going to be held one period ahead. So that Ft t plus k will simply be a forward rate that you agree on today to transact k periods ahead from now. Okay? So we come to these, but for the timing, let me just express this S, where S is the forward rate at the time of maturity of this particular bond. Okay? Alright. So, what are my strategies? Now, clearly, this is one strategy. Okay, put the money in domestic bonds. Now, what do I weigh this against when I'm saying where can I make more money? I'm going to ask, okay, suppose with this 1 rupee, I were to buy bonds denominated in dollars. Okay, so the interest rate on that is some IX. Okay, then how much am I buying in dollar terms? How much rather am I investing in dollar terms? Clearly, 1 by X. Okay. Given that definition, 1 rupee is simply worth 1 by X dollars. And what does this represent therefore? Sorry?
value of the dollar that you
in dollar terms. So this is the dollar value of my investment. Okay. Now do I stop here when I'm trying to make this decision whether I should go domestic or foreign bonds? I have to go one step further, right? I have to look at what this money is going to be worth in rupees, because that's what I care for, right? Okay. Now what are my choices here? My choices here is to simply take a chance. Whatever the rate of the dollar versus the rupee is going to be, 3 months from now, if I'm talking about the bond of 3 months maturity, I'll just convert it back and I'll then see which gets me more. Okay? Now what's the problem here? The problem here is I don't know what the rate is going to be 3 months from now. Okay? So the best I can do is have a guess about it. Okay, so of course here I'm assuming that the exchange rate is on some sort of a slope. Alright? So the rate might go up or down. Alright? Now, suppose I'm a risk-averse individual. Then what is it that I'd like to do? I'd actually like to hedge. I'd like to hedge against currency risk. And what would that prompt me to do? It would actually prompt me to cover for currency risk. And how would I do that? By writing a forward contract. Okay? So let's say I do this. I write a forward contract. Alright? And this is my forward rate. Okay? In that case, how do I evaluate the rupee value of this sum? I simply multiply by. Okay? So, what the interest parity condition tells you is that arbitrage is going to ensure that these two are equalized. Once again, in a world where capital flows are, yeah, do you have a question?
The interest rate between so aren't you taking that into account?
What? The interest rate is IX. Yeah.
on the interest rate that you're taking on all these things.
Yes. They're not.
If you take example of India and US,
Yeah.
IIT Indian investor and IIT US investor.
Yes.
And take a 3 months forward.
Right.
The interest on the
Yes, then we analyze it is divided by
on the inflation data for India, it comes after every month.
Yeah.
So if I take a hedge for say 3 months and the inflation is ready, so
Yeah.
only when I would ready.
Yes.
So how would I count
So
that?
I will come to that. We just come to that. Okay? So basically what you're telling me is that shouldn't I care about real returns? Right? Shouldn't I care about inflation differential? Yes, we will. Okay? So we're going to get there. Okay? But let's just take this step by step to see what the interest parity conditions really mean. Okay? Because when you see interest rate quotes, okay, if you look at the last page in an Economist magazine, you see, a lot of statistics on key economies, and one of those pieces of information you find them are interest rates. Okay? Those are just nominal rates. So what the interest parity condition as it stands here is telling you is that in nominal terms, okay, so these are nominal rates here as well. I'm talking about the spot rate. So S is the spot rate and S is the forward nominal rate. Then arbitrage is actually going to ensure that the return on domestic bonds and the return on foreign bonds of comparable maturity, please let's be clear about that, would get equalized due to arbitrage. Okay? In other words, if for some reason there is a deviation of this kind, alright, this would have implications for movements in the forward and spot rate. It would prompt people, in other words, to do things like, I borrow cheap I put my money here. Okay. So today I simply buy dollars, convert those dollars into rupees, put them in a rupee bond, and 3 months later I sell the rupees. But we come back, right? So 3 months later we're just going to share the rupees, and we're going to get back to the dollars. So I have enough to repay my loan. So in other words, everybody would be prompted to do this if these kinds of deviations exist, which would have implications for the way in which the forward and the spot rates would change, so that literally at every point in time you have this open. Okay, so what drives it in the presence of unrestricted capital flows is pure arbitrage. If there is a chance to make an extra buck, you make it. Okay? Now, this is actually what we're going to give us our covered interest parity conditions. So let's just sort of break this up and see what it tells us about the relation between I and IS. So this simply means that 1 plus I is equal to I can write this in the following way. O So I'm going to call SP a forward premium. Alright? And we'll see what happens with the forward premium. It could be positive or negative, and we'll see what that means for the relation. Okay. Now, IS, SP, these are all fractions. So, this is going to be even smaller. So, standard trick, I'm just going to ignore this and say that, so, the ones get cancelled out, or I is approximately equal to this is a very small number. Two fractions multiplied by each other. Okay? Yeah, you're okay. So this is your problem. No, the one second. Yeah? Okay. So, here's your covered interest parity condition, which basically tells you that a positive interest rate differential between your currency and between your asset and foreign asset would do what to the forward premium of your currency? So look at how we define SP. So look, if this is how I defined my exchange rate. What is an increase? Imply of rupee? Okay, so always be carefully qualified because there are two currencies going on here, and if S falls, it simply means there's an appreciation of the rupee and corresponding appreciation of the dollar. Alright. So a positive SP means what? What's happening to the rupee in the forward market? No, it's appreciation. It's appreciation, right? Oh, sorry, the forward premium is positive. Yeah, that's the appreciation of the rupee. Alright. Now, does that make sense? Does that make sense? So if you just go with the strategy that I told you about. Alright? If there is an interest differential of this kind, where I actually borrow dollars today to invest in rupee assets, what must I be doing 3 months from now? I'm selling rupees to get back to the dollar, which puts pressure on the rupee in the forward market and brings down the forward rate of the rupee to a level which has to be consistent with this. Because if it were not satisfying this, there would be arbitrage opportunities there, which would be taken up with unrestricted capital flows, driving down the rupee rate to one that's consistent with the story. Okay? Alright. So that's one step in the direction that we are moving in, which is to relate our interest and exchange rate. Yes.
These are the real interest rates that change total value.
It is assuming that the real interest rate. No. It's assuming the opposite. It's actually assuming that inflation is about the same. So that a nominal difference is represented in a real difference.
How about if there is the difference in the real interest rate?
Yeah.
So obviously the capital would flow from one side to the other.
Yes. Which is what is happening. So I'm borrowing in the at lower rate. I'm investing in a country in the higher rate today, but forward is 3 months from now when I'm getting back, and I have to repay whatever I borrowed at the lower rate, right? So just think of a pure, just a pure strategy where you're out to make money. You're out to make money from this interest rate differential. Then I'm going to show you an example. Exactly this way. When you have the numbers, it becomes a bit more concrete. But it's really the opposite. If an interest rate differential is impelling me to put in money in a particular bond, alright, it must be that I perceive a real gain. Okay? And we see that. So just so you want to see, we see that when you're looking at countries with about the same levels of inflation, so comparable countries in terms of macro fundamentals like inflation, there, if you find one country offering a higher rate vis-a-vis the other, then it must be that the currency of the country with the higher rate is depreciating in the forward market. It actually holds to it every point in time.
is equal to IS plus FT.
Yeah.
So in the long run, nobody can make money from the arbitrage opportunity.
Because they're all getting taken. Because they are making money out of arbitrage opportunities. Look at it from this way. So think of Germany and the US. Okay? What it tells you is that in Germany and the US, again, that's the example you'll be looking at. They're comparable economies, low inflation economies. Okay? Let's say at the point in time of the example, but refers to they were comparable in terms of their rates of inflation. Now, if German bonds are being offered at a higher interest rate, it just makes sense to go to them. And because everybody will go to them, so the position of the Deutsche Mark vis-a-vis the dollar in the forward market will be such that this will be flat. That's the way to talk about it. And look, look at how I'm getting this. I'm actually getting this through very sensible sort of just with some very logical steps. You take two countries which are offering different interest rates on their financial assets, and I'm just logically deciding which do I go for, how much do I hold with each. The kinds of decisions I take, remember this, okay, no cost, no restrictions, would induce this condition to be held. And apparently this is a condition that actually, can be demonstrated to hold at every point in time. Yes.
It's continuous. I minus IS is greater than 0 for a very long time. So S will keep on depreciating. But at the time when the forward contract is completed, S will converge. So that will mean that the contract also keep on depreciating.
No, but you see the S and S rates are converging. You're talking about exchange rates, aren't you? So you know what, I jumped to the example sooner rather than later, and all your queries were settled down. I just figured I'm doing without numbers. I just